evening, YouTube. This is Tire Metalhead Weatherman here. It is Friday evening right now. This is a video that will be pre-recorded for Saturday. And really, this is a look into the long-range forecast. Decided to do this video separately so that way you guys could get a weekend forecast from me and I could talk about the severe weather threat in a little bit longer of a video. I don't want to I'm trying to figure out ways to not overwhelm you guys with too much info at once and try to make these videos a little bit shorter, make them a little bit easier to watch. We'll have more changes in the channel coming over time, but we'll get into that a little bit later. But in the meantime, let's get into the meat of the video here. So if you got to see my previous video beforehand, I did mention that there was a marginal risk of severe weather. On Sunday, we're going to go into detail with that first. So it was a little bit uncertain because the NAM wasn't really showing me a lot of data on this, but the look seems to be about where I expected it to be. I was thinking it was going to be somewhere a little bit further to the west, maybe towards Kansas, maybe even a little bit further towards Omaha in Nebraska, but it actually, the National Weather Service and Storm Prediction Center are thinking Springfield, Missouri, Joplin, Missouri, Tulsa, Oklahoma, Kansas City, you guys have a marginal risk for severe weather. There's a lot of uncertainty with it. There's supposed to be a cap in place or capping inversion. It's basically what happens is there's a lid that's put on the atmosphere that can hamper the potential of storm development, causing storms to literally shear themselves apart before they form. Like I said, I'm eventually going to start doing videos as things start to quiet down on stuff like on different types of terminology like capping inversions, etc. How to read the radar over time. But for right now, let's get into this. This is our day 3 risk, so we aren't really able to give you an idea of what the hazards are looking like, what the probability is behind them. All I can tell you is that there's a capping inversion in place and that there's a chance for some isolated severe storms around this area here. What we're really interested in is days 4 through 8, because it looks like this upcoming week will be another active week, but this time it looks like it's for the Midwest. On day 4, if you look here, we have a pretty big area, already a slight risk on day 4. Jefferson, you're in this, and areas that were in the marginal risk yesterday on Sunday are, some of them will be under this slight risk on Monday. So Jefferson, you guys are in play. Springfield, Tulsa, a little bit east of Wichita, you guys are involved in this. Oklahoma City, you're now in play. And then Dallas, once again, you're in line for some more severe weather. And so is Waco and Austin. I think you're just on the line. It's pretty far out, so it's hard to tell what what the mode is going to be. I mean, I think on all the days that are highlighted here, all modes, all hazards are possible, but we'll have to get further within we're going to have to take a look at the models a little bit more extensively. Day 5, a lot of the same areas from day 4 are in the risk yet again, and this kind of expands a little bit further north. The far Wichita, you're now in the slight risk here, and then southern Iowa, you guys are in play here. Des Moines, the southern side of the city might be, or the southern side of the suburbs of Des Moines, you might be in play for this. And this also spreads into Louisiana. Lufkin, you're in this. Lufkin, Texas, excuse me. And then Alexandria, you're right on the line, so keep an eye out. There might be some more severe weather coming you guys' way as well. And then as we look towards day 6, area really hasn't moved much. It just spreads further east. It'll be interesting to see how this map unfolds here. But all of these days look really interesting, and we're going to take a look at a few different models here and get a general idea of what we might have coming our way. But this spreads further to the east, and now we're talking about Mississippi getting into play here too. Shreveport, Louisiana, you're in this as well. And we got Jackson and Greenville. You guys, Mississippi, you guys are in play. And then Memphis, Tennessee, Jackson, Tennessee, you guys are in play. Arkansas gets into the action. St. Louis and Missouri, you guys are in there too. Hannibal as well. Even some parts of Illinois are now in play. And then further back towards the north, now we have Omaha and Lincoln, Nebraska. You guys are in play. So there's plenty of active weather ahead for us. Plenty more to talk about on this channel. And I'll be happy to give you as much info as I can. So we'll go to day 7 here, and predictability too low, and it's the same with day 8. So there's still a lot to watch here. So in the days ahead, I'll be making more videos. Hopefully I won't run into the problems that I did on Thursday. I went into a little bit greater detail in the last video about that, but it's not that important. I'm pretty sure you guys don't even want to know about too much of that. It's not a huge deal anyway. But let's take a look at the ensemble here. See what kind of mess we might be getting into here. So as we're looking right now, this is what we're dealing with currently. Have cold air over the east and warm air over the west and northwest, especially in the southwest. You guys are going to be very hot this weekend. I mentioned that in the last video. So we're watching the tail end of our last storm system starting to move offshore, and we'll be finally done with that. So we'll move forward here, and we'll watch this bowling ball leave the country here. Might bring a few snow showers to the Ohio Valley and the Appalachians. Maybe a little bit for the interior northeast, and then we start to get our ridge redeveloping over here come Monday. And right here in the clear slide is our battle zone, and this is where our severe weather is going to develop. And lo and behold, look towards the northeast, there's our bowling ball. It's pretty far back, but it is looking pretty robust. When you see these lines kind of constrict like this, that's when you know a storm system is pretty strong and there's a lot of energy with it. So it'll be interesting to see what happens next. It's positively tilted. I think at some point it's going to try to go negative, which could be really concerning and really big news for everybody. Everybody that's in those severe weather threat areas. So we watch this go. So we do watch this go negative late into Wednesday. So that could be a very interesting day along this area in particular. I'll be watching this area really closely for the potential of a severe weather outbreak on Wednesday. So we'll move this further along. This pushes off to the north. Our ridge stays intact for the southeast. And maybe, okay. So I don't like using tropical tidbits much because it always does that little flashing screen bit for me. But we'll watch this move forward, and then towards the end of next week, I guess we might be in for some weather to the south. It's kind of looking like it kind of has a weird look to it. It may be some severe weather possible. We'll have to watch this go on because we'll have to watch this closely because we're at 216 hours out. We really start to get into la la land at that point as far as forecast models are concerned. It's just a bunch of wacky stuff, a bunch of wacky runs end up happening a lot of the time. Every once in a while we'll get one that's right. But right after that storm system moves through in the following week, we're expected to get another big cold plunge here. And this kind of hangs around for a few days. I'm not too sure if I agree with this. Could be another Arctic blast here. Really sets itself up around the Great Lakes region, so might be on the lookout for the Great Lakes machine to open up and maybe bring in a little bit more snow. Have to watch that one really close. We're getting towards 300 hours out. We start to lose that, and then the model really starts to get wacky at this point, and then that's the end of it. So what we're gonna end up doing here, actually, in this situation, is we're gonna go with the high-res Euro. Only goes up to about 90 hours out, but it could give us a potentially better look than what the NAM did on my last video, as far as the severe weather threat on Sunday night or Sunday evening. So let's go ahead and go to that. Also might get an idea of any potential snow showers around the Ohio Valley. So, taking a whole view of the country here. Have a lot of activity. Here's our low pressure system that I'm suspecting is going to bring a little bit of that snow. Or it could be this one. Nah, it's not that one. It's got to be this one, or new low forms around the Gulf, I'm pretty sure. Yep. There's our low there. And it's interesting because when I looked at the NAM, this kind of had this showing as a rain snow mix, but not much wintry precip in between, or an in between point here. This kind of gives me a little bit more vivid picture of winter weather. The Euro is a good model when it comes to winter weather. It paints a little bit more of a clearer picture. So we can see that there is an area of light snow showers, light wintry precipitation developing around the Ohio Valley and the Great Lakes. We'll watch this move off. And then here's our low pressure that we're expecting to cause severe weather around Missouri and the central plains. So we go forward here. And there it is right there. Into the late evening hours. We get what looks like a small little line of storms that tries to develop here. And this has an interesting look to it. I do think there could be some sizable hail with this. Could be marginally severe. Take a look at that on the sounding, and there we have it. Severe threat. No real curvature. So the tornado threat with this is going to be extremely low from the looks of it. Dew points are in the 50s. Temperatures in the 60s around this time. No huge lapse rates until you get into the very, very high levels of the atmosphere. So, I mean, like I said, I think hail is going to be a big deal. But, and there we have it there. We can even look at it on the analog for the sounding. Significant hail, 0.88. Cape doesn't look impressive on this. We'll go into detail with that more, maybe. I might not be able to go into detail with that more, so I do apologize for that. But the threat looks relatively minuscule, so that's good news for everybody. So we watch this play out. This storm system kind of dissolves, and then I think Monday evening is when I can expect this next group of storms to pop up. By the way, the time is set up right here, always in this little corner here. So we're about 75 hours out, and there's our next bit of severe weather. See a little something down here, looks like a line forming ahead of a dry line, and we have a marginal severe threat. But look at the temperatures. We have 64 degree dew points and 85 degree temperatures around Dallas on Monday night. It'll be interesting to see what happens next with this storm. I don't know if I'm going to be able to really do an update analysis, like a more analytical update on Sunday night threat, but I'm pretty sure I can do Monday. So I'm definitely going to try to focus my efforts towards that. There we go. So we'll move this forward. Looked like we try to get a line of storms to develop here. It's kind of weird how the timing's set up with this, but okay, it just looks like a bunch of rain, nothing severe here. So we move this forward. There's a couple interesting looks with these storms here, but I don't think the atmosphere is set up for anything major. Do see some marginal severe with that storm. Had an interesting little kidney bean look to it, but I just don't think it develops in anything major. So then we have another low that moves in on Tuesday here. And I think this is when things really will start to get active here. So we're going to shift from the Euro to the GFS model. We're going going to skip forward to 90 hours out. Just waiting for everything to load here. This might take a second to load as well because this is a 384-hour model. So main thing we're doing with the GFS from this point here is just trying to verify what we were seeing with the ensemble models. If the ensemble and the operational model, which is what we're looking at here, are in agreement, are in any kind of agreement, that increases the chance, that already increases the confidence that I have in this happening. Because you always want models to be in agreement or alignment of some type, so that way you increase the chance of a more accurate forecast. So basically, I do like what I'm seeing here because the Euro is also showing a low pressure of 987 millibars right over Colorado into the Four Corners region. And it's dropping heavy snow for areas like Wyoming, especially Montana. You guys might get walloped a little bit here. It's also worked its way through Idaho and the Northwest. So we move this forward, and then there, lo and behold, Tuesday night, this is when our severe weather threat picks up again. This definitely looks like a line of storms, and it looks like a straight line damaging wind threat from the looks of it so far. Even though it's not really registering here right now, I do think this is going to be a bow echo of some kind, or some kind of mesoscale system. It's going to be a separate mesoscale system. So we look into Wednesday here, and then we see another line of storms form right around the low pressure area. And there's plenty of warm air along with this, so I do think that there you go. So I looked at the sounding and marginal tornado threat. What often tends to happen with these storms that form up around the low is that you got to keep in mind, the air around this low pressure is spinning at the upper levels. So there is some wind shear to be had here. So if you get sufficient moisture, sufficient capes, and you get a marginal tornado threat, I don't think the tornadoes will be very long lasting in this area, or that they'll be strong to violent, but anything's possible. But it does let you know that we do have a tornado threat. So we move forward here, and we watch the threat diminish and then pick back up around Tennessee and Arkansas again. Seems like a very spotty kind of system. It's kind of hard to keep up with on the GFS, because once you get around 100 hours plus, it's kind of hard to, we kind of lose a lot of definition here. So I'm just kind of clicking around, just trying to get some kind of feel for what the GFS is what the GFS might be thinking, what it's showing me. And really, it's kind of unclear right now. So by Thursday afternoon, it looks like this weather works its way into the southeast. It's relatively scattered, messy in coverage, and then we have another line of storms that forms up Friday. It's kind of has the look of last week's storm system, but so far it's on a much weaker scale, which is a good thing because a lot of places around the southeast were hit really hard in the last couple of weeks. So it's been so I think a lot of us here would be more than happy with a break. So by Saturday and Sunday, that low pressure is moving off. We have some unsettled weather that moves in behind this weaker low pressure here. That also brings snow towards areas like Chicago even. And it's working its way towards the Great Lakes. Maybe even Detroit might get a little bit of snow. Northern Ohio as well. So Great Lakes comes into effect here. And then this becomes a pretty solid snowstorm for Maine as well. You start out as rain, but then you get walloped with snow at the end here. So we watch this. So we watch another low pressure bring more unsettled weather towards the deep south on the 17th. And then maybe a little bit of severe weather for southern Georgia on around the early afternoon of the 17th. We'll have to watch that closely as well. And then here's an interesting look that I saw on the ensemble that I'm not sure that I agree with. But the fact that the operational is showing this is something interesting. Have this low pressure that moves in here. And this is our 540 line. This is the line, I always talk about this line. I'm going to go over it in a video eventually, I promise. That this is a line where rain will often start turning into snow. This is a 32-degree line, 540 line. So we watch this push south, and look how far south it pushes. It's a very weird look, especially for April. So, keep losing my place on here. It's a very weird look even for April, but look at that. You're getting heavy snow for eastern Kentucky, eastern Tennessee, and maybe even North Georgia here. Like, what? This is mid-April we're talking about. And we might be seeing snow on the 18th? What? That's crazy. And then look at this low pushes further south, and it starts to look like it even deepens. The pressure drops to 1002. That's a strengthening storm here. Yeah, and we do get snow into the north, North Georgia, right around the mountains. It's even looking like the panhandle of North Carolina, maybe even the northernmost tips of South Carolina may get some snow out of this briefly. Then there's the snow that wraps around on the backside here. Some pretty heavy snow at that. Maybe a deformation band. It's crazy. And then based off this run, it turns into a big deal for the Northeast as well. It's absolutely insane. I'm going to have to, like I said, this is so far out though. This, more often than not, this kind of run changes, especially during this time of year. So I can only take this with a grain of salt. But if this did happen, that would be insane. So we'll watch this work its way to the Northeast, become a big storm system for the northeastern coast, especially New England, D.C., and Rhode Island, Long Island. You guys would all be in play for this if this happens. So the storm works its way off the coast, and then we get what looks like another storm system trying to form in southern Texas on the 22nd. This is about 300 hours out at this point, so basically I'm working with next to nothing. I'm just basically taking a shot into the dark by looking at this point. We're 330 hours out. More disturbed weather for Texas. Then our next low pressure forms. May turn into a severe weather event for the northern plains now, which is kind of crazy. Normally the warm air doesn't make it that far north that early into the season. And then this looks like a huge mess of a severe weather event that's expected to happen on the 24th according to the GFS. And that's the end of our model run. So there's a lot going on here. A lot to keep track of. But that's all I have for you guys tonight. Hopefully I didn't keep you too long with this video here. We're sitting at 23 minutes. But that's all I got for you guys, and I'll see you guys hopefully either Sunday night or Monday night. But it's been Ty, your Metalhead Weatherman, and I will see you guys again soon.